Hey guys, good morning. Well, you've seen a lot of this car lately, and I hate to bore you with another video on it, but the video is probably going to slow down on this now for one simple reason. That's because that as far as any kind of real restoration or renovation or rehabilitation goes, I'm just about done with this car, so I've just been enjoying it and driving it around. And as a matter of fact, that's the subject of this video. I was on vacation this week. I had 9 days off, 2 weekends, and then the 5 days in between. So wanted to set a goal for myself to drive this car every day the whole week that I was off. Excuse me, allergies again. Drive it every day the week I was off somewhere, and so that I have done. I've put a few hundred miles on it. I think I went to Huntsville once, Madison once, went to Athens 3 times. Went to Pulaski once, and then all around this little town here. So I've definitely been using it, and I haven't touched the other car except to move it out from where it was parked over there so I could do something else at that space. So I want to give you the update on it and just let you know how things went and what kind of cropped up and my driving impressions and stuff like that. So let's get on with it. So anyway, brief recap. This was a car, this is a Slant 6 68 Valiant that sat in the field for a long time, and somebody had been driving it a little years back, but not much, and hadn't been driving much lately at all, so in recent times. So anyway, I drug it home, bought it, drug it home, and spent quite a long time messing around with it. I really didn't have a fire lit under me to get it finished very quickly, so I didn't, so it kind of just drug. But last few months I've been pushing to get it all fixed up and running, so it is. And just did a lot of different things to it, just what it needed: fuel system, brakes, cooling system, a little bit of stuff to the engine, but not much. Carburetor, set the valves, new battery, new used battery from the other car I had, and swapped the wheels from the other car, etc., etc. And just had a new muffler put on it. Tried to use the old one, wouldn't work, so it's all up to snuff. So here we go. Here's the good parts of it. The engine runs like a dream, runs like a top. Doesn't have any problems out of the engine so far. Starts every time. It behaves well, idles well in traffic, even in the warm weather. Not really hot yet, but warm. No leaks. It's not leaked any coolant. It's not leaked anything else. No leaks in the brake fluid. Not used a drop of oil. So that's been good. Just been run like a Slant 6 should. Coolant level stayed right up where it should, as I just mentioned. And things people do wrong on these is, well, these radiators that don't have a catch jug on them or overflow container, whatever you want to call the thing, people make the mistake of running the coolant way up to the neck up here, and then when you do that, it gets hot and expands, and then it tries to kick it out off the side over there out the overflow. And this one I run it just where it's supposed to be, about maybe a half or 3/4 of an inch over the flues when it's cold, and that way it gives you room to expand into the tank, and it has never kicked out any fluid, any antifreeze at all, ever. So now what it does do is when you pull in, you know, it's just got a 4-blade fan on it and an old 19-inch radiator, so it runs perfectly fine and right on the normal level going down the road. Even when you're, you know, going up a hill or anything, doesn't drive over here. When you pull in and idle in traffic, the temperature gauge does try to go up to about halfway, and it might go a little bit further, you know. Then when you cut it off, it kind of comes over like this when you turn the car, start the car back up, and then it comes back down. But that's just kind of a characteristic of these things. It drives well. The brakes work good. The steering's pretty good on it. It doesn't pull or do anything like that. The steering is just a little bit loose on it. I don't believe that's in the steering box. I think this manual steering box has got a little bit of wear on it. This whole car has got about 228,000 miles on it, I think. So that's that, but it drives good. The steering is slow. The manual steerings are slow on these, and it's not easy to drive. Like, you've seen me laugh at Uncle Phil trying to drive this car and the other one with no power steering, and it's true. It's not easy to drive at low speeds. you have to do a lot of muscling it around and cranking the wheel back and forth and stuff. But anyway, as far as the car goes, everything's been solid on it. Everything's, you know, nothing's broke, anything like that. So I've been pleased with it for what it is. So the things, there have been a few things that have acted up on it, and I'll get into that right now. First thing is that has to do with this gas tank. I smell gas fumes every once in a while, and this thing is vented. Let's see if I got my keys so I can explain better what I mean here. But the way this thing, it does not have a charcoal canister on it. This was too early for that. They had not mandated that till 1972, I think. Well, they started trying to capture the vapors in 1970 or 71, a different way. But I got my new Trump mat I splurged on that. So anyway, this thing has a tube that comes off the filler neck right there, and it's got a loop in it that's to keep liquid from going into that tube, and then that tube runs down and it goes through the floor right there. It goes through that seal, and it ends up in one of the frame rails, the unibody frame rails. The bird's been hitting it, hasn't they? And it's open to the atmosphere. So when the temperature out here warms up, especially if it's sitting in the sunlight, then it tends to expand. The vapors, creates vapors in the gas tank, and they push out, and they're just open. So you smell gas here and there. And I smelled it even more than usual one day, and I got in there and looked, and it left spots on the driveway. The gas cylinder was leaking where it clamps in the front of the gas tank. Just seeping gas out. And that has to do with that cheap old aftermarket sending unit that's in it, and the little ring, lock ring, and the gasket. Should have used the original, but I don't think the original. I think the original, something's wrong with it, where I inadvertently discarded it. But I know better now, because the stuff the aftermarket crap stuff is too thin. It will not put enough pressure on it to seal, allegedly. So I did that once when I filled the tank way up, and I didn't intend to fill the tank way up, but I was going down to Huntsville last weekend, and started out, and the gas hand was about, that's what we call it down here, the gas hand, the needle. I don't know, it was down probably just below the half mark there. And I was happy about that. I thought, hey, I got a lot of gas. I won't have to stop at a filling station and top up the tank or anything. It's not that far to Huntsville. It's only 20 miles, 24 miles to where I'm going, and then 24, 25 miles back, whatever route I take. Plenty of gas for that. It's got an 18-gallon tank. I'm all set. So anyway, I start off and I get on the highway, and I'm watching this gas in the hand, the gas gauge. It just slowly starts going down. I get about 10 or 15 miles out. It's almost down to a quarter tank. And I think there's no way that's going on. So I pull into another filling station down there, and it's down a little bit below half. I thought that would be a tremendous gas leak, and I would smell that, and I didn't smell any gas. So anyway, I pulled in, swung into a gas station, got out, looked at it. There's no gas leaking, no nothing. Everything's dry up here, dry back there. Nothing's going on. So I couldn't explain that one. It didn't dawn on me right away what was going on, but I should have remembered this from before the other cars I've had. So anyway, I get out, turn off the car, get out, and landlords are home, and get out and figure I got to fill up the tank again for some reason. So I start to, and I get about $8 worth of gas in this thing, and it comes slopping over the side there, and I'm trying to get it to look in there, and it's slam full. So I go back in, hang up the pump and do all that, go back in to go, start the car again. It's all the way over on full, and I thought, okay, evidently this stupid ass offshore sending unit that I had to buy, they're awful. They're made by either Spectre or Dorman, and they're not linear like they're supposed to be. If you look that word up if you want to know what that means. But well, let me say this. I said that wrong. They're not supposed to be linear, actually, on these. They have a range on them, but the range is different. I guess to explain this, you know, you have... let me try to explain it so that folks that aren't real familiar with how this stuff works can understand it. So you got a speedometer, and you got stuff here. You got lights, you got gauges, you got ammeter. Don't worry about the alternator gauge, but the temperature and the gas gauge, they get fed power to this thing when you turn on the ignition key. And the way they work, either high or low, is dependent on the ground side. So you got a temperature sender in the engine, and you got a fuel level sender in the gas tank. As that thing moves up and down, it gives a variable resistance to a ground on it, so it makes this needle go up and down correspondingly. So you have, like, at full, you might have like 10 ohms of resistance, so it, you know, it's grounding a lot. So like if you were to take that connector off the gas tank back there and ground it and turn the key on, this gauge would go all the way over. So that device back there limits that amount of ground it gets. So anyway, that's the deal. But on these, they say, I said linear, but I meant to say they're not supposed to be linear. Like, you may have like not many ohms up here at the top, and then at the bottom you may have, to give an empty reading, you may have like 90. But anyways, so the people that make those things offshore somewhere, China, Thailand, wherever, Malaysia, wherever they have been making these Mopar specific sending units, and all these retailers sell the same ones. They're absolute junk because they're not made the right way. That's why you want to try to save an old one. So anyway, what happens is this thing will read full when it's full, and then when it gets down, use about a couple gallons out of it, 3 gallons, it's reading about halfway, and then by the time it gets to empty, it's probably got at least half a tank still left in it. So the hell you gonna do about that? You know, you gotta recalibrate it, which I don't think that's possible easily. So that's going on. So that's frustrated me. So what I did about that was, I was down at the hardware store. I picked up just like you'd use on a Model T because of this situation. I used this big long stick. I hit the cap off, and I run it down in this tank, and I take a reading on it. Let me demonstrate it for you now. Isn't this ridiculous? You gotta do something like this. Nobody else makes sending units. If somebody has one of these NOS sending units for one of these cars, I guarantee they're gonna rip somebody's AESS for it on the price. And make sure you go all the way in with it until it stops right on the bottom of the tank. Mark it with your thumb where the opening is. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but we got probably over half a tank of gas in it. Now, the gauge won't say that. Gauge will say something else. But so that's what I do. Let that dry out. Isn't that crazy? So that's really ticked me off. So I haven't been too happy about that. I had to take this gauge cluster out also to work on these gauges because the oil light quit working and the turn signal indicators did not work, and something else. Now I guess that was it. That was all it was with this. But so I took this thing all out and worked on it, got everything working. Had to resolder some of the little pins back on the circuit board back there. Put it all back in, which is not easy. You have to take this pad loose. Anyway, I did all that, and I was going to Huntsville the other day, and I was going down the road, and it was right on about 50 miles an hour, and I thought, you know what, it sure does seem like I'm going fast for 50 miles an hour. So I had to make a turn, so I slowed down to make my turn and turned on, and I noticed when I did that the speedometer was still on 50, 52 miles an hour, and that's where it stayed the whole way, and the whole way back. Wouldn't come down. Now, people don't seem to realize, they should, but they don't seem to realize that on these older speedometers that run off the cable, that there is no physical connection between the needle and the mechanism, the cable back there. The cable turns a set of flyweights, and this needle's kind of, the end of it back there goes back through that, and it's actually they turn the other way, clockwise, I guess. But as they turn, then it kind of starts drawing that needle up. But there is no, if this thing gets stuck like that, speedometer gets stuck, stop saying it's probably the cable. It's not the cable. Because for one thing, the odometer worked. And so if it's something in the speedometer head down there where the odometer and all those gears are that's mechanically connected to the cable, if that locked up, then it'd break the cable and nothing would work. But all that works. So anyway, I drove this thing around all week just about with no speedometer. Tapped on it. Didn't want to be too hard on it because this stuff's all kind of brittle anyway. So I was messing around, and yesterday I was in here and I was just tapping on it and it's still stuck up there, and I pulled on the speedometer casing here and it goes ding 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 ding. So whatever, you know. I don't know what that was about. It got stuck, I guess. Guess the needle got stuck. And when I had it in the muffler shop the other day and watched the guy pull it in and realized my brake lights hadn't been working, so I had to get under there and mess around with the brake light. I guess since I fixed these brakes, I don't know what happened. Since I fixed these brakes, the brake pedal's way up here. You hardly even have to push down on the brakes to get the brakes to go on. So I guess it got a little bit out of adjustment. So I just simply, what I did was, it's got a little bracket down there. I'm not going to bend down there and show you. It's just got a little bracket and the brake switch sticks through it and it clips in. It's not one of those that you can just turn it and adjust it in or out. It don't work on these. They don't do it. They don't work like that. So what you have to do is you have to adjust that whole little metal bracket it sits on. So what I did, just the lazy way out, is I just grabbed the brake pedal and pulled back on it a little bit. It had some slop in it, so pulled up on it and it moved that whole thing back a little bit. So I just did that gently until it got where I could push the brake pedal, just barely push it and the brake lights would come on. So it works great now. So anyway, these gauges, speaking of the gauges, I don't think we're out of the woods on these things yet. I'm not going to mess with them because I saw the temperature gauge yesterday. It was just down here where it's supposed to be, and all of a sudden I saw it go so anyway, and then one day I went to turn in someplace and the turn signals wouldn't work. They had been working every time before that, but they just spontaneously quit working. So I got in there, stopped where I was going and messed around with it, up and down with it a couple times, and then it started working again. So, of course, you saw I had to fix this window again also. That seems to be holding up. So anyway, that's the deal with this thing. You know, nothing major, just a lot of little idiosyncrasies, I guess. I think this marker light quit working. So a lot of it's been electrical and some of the, you know, stuff with the speedometer and things. But it's just kind of what you get into. This car's 52 years old, but it's kind of to be expected. It does so far operate pretty good, but it's got one big problem though. It's cropped up. I'll save that to last. Fixing to have to demonstrate it for you, but I'm having some transmission problems with it. That was the last thing I expected to have trouble with on this car. Sure enough, I'm having some issues. It is not shifting right when it's cold. Sometimes it skips second gear. Sometimes it holds first too long and then goes to second, then immediately to third, and then sometimes starts out in second. Sometimes it starts out in third, so it seems like. So that's a lot of that's when it's cold, and also it's making a noise, consistently making a noise when it makes the shift to second gear. And these things use a band to shift into second gear. It wraps around the drum in there. So if you ever have problems with second gear, then you immediately suspect something with that, and that's what I suspect. Because like I said, this is the original transmission as far as I can tell, and it's got buku miles on it. So 51 years old. You know, I can't blame it if it's acting up finally on its way out. It doesn't slip. I mean, you know, when it's in gear, it's in gear. It doesn't slip or anything like that. It shifted weird the first few times I started using it back, you know, a month or so ago. So, but yeah, it's got something. When it shifts into second, it makes a noise that it should not make. It kind of. I'm going to try to demonstrate it for it. We're going to take a ride uptown here. I got a go get something. So I'll see if I can show you that noise. So, all right, just started up the engine, and this thing acts the weirdest when it's cold. So I'm going to try to just drive right away here. So let's go reverse here. Can't hear anything on this. Gravel. Hey, we're in first gear. And we're stuck in first gear. Come on, baby. Yeah, okay. I'm not to rev the engine too high with it cold. And so yesterday morning it didn't do that. What it did was it was already in like second or third gear when I took off. Poor old thing. No engine braking in first gear, so that's normal. All right, so let's just go to low, and let's see if we can prompt a shift out at it. Oops, these folks in the way here. All right, there you go. Okay, I'm gonna shift it up. Nothing. Nothing. Well, that's a revolting development. Oh, there we go. See, the temperature's come up. So, see, that's about 3 different things it's done now. It's done, that's an assortment of stuff that it's done to act up. It's not shifted out of first, that's new. It's shifted first, now that was from first to third there. It skipped second again, so. Now what gear are we in here? That's not low. went to manual low. It was tough here in manual low because this thing can hardly take off in any other gear. Okay, now shifted a second on its own. You hear that noise? I'm going to put you down by the floorboard here. Alright, I'm going to sit you guys down here at the floor so you can hear that weird noise. No automatic downshift first now. I have to do it manually. It is shifting the second at a time. There you have it. I think you're not going to be able to hear much now because I'm picking up speed, but it's got some issues for sure here. Not really interested in pulling this out yet or going into it. If I do have to pull it out, I may just replace it with another one. So that's strange. I really don't understand why this would have done this. I don't see any evidence of it, you know, it's been towing anything, so. Oil thing. People always park next to me every time I come in this place, so I'm going to park. Okay, it just went to first gear again, low gear on its own. How strange. Alright, I'm going to just put it in drive and see if it feels like it goes in low. Yep. And temperature's all the way up now. So this is, whatever's up with this thing, its symptoms decrease drastically when it gets warm. They don't all go away normally. Like I said, sometimes when it's hot, it'll just go from first to third. And I know that's you know, that could be a band adjustment, but I don't know, the noise down there you're hearing, that don't sound good. So, alright guys, well, I'm going to go in and get a little bite for lunch, easy, light lunch today. So, thanks for watching. I don't know what we'll do about this. I think we're just going to keep driving it until it breaks.